Vanakkam, Namaste, and blessings to everyone. This is Dr. Bairavee Subramaniam, PhD, the Sky Priestess. So, I have just been doing my work on Tier 23, and I realized there's some very, very, very key alignments I should tell everybody about. And you know that whilst Tier 23 is the premium membership program, I will still make sure that the most important things get out there into the public domain because, this is important work. So, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of key alignments that are going to be affecting us from June the 13th to June the 18th. And these are really, really, really important alignments that, frankly, you're not likely to see getting talked about elsewhere because you really need to dig into the asteroids to go and find them in the first place. So, for essentially this period of time, and longer still, but you're looking at a focused period of time between the June the 13th to June the 18th, we're going to see multiple really, really, really intense, really esoteric alignments that are shaping energy at a very critical level. So, for example, first of all, we see a very, very powerful alignment between a body known as Chaos at 26 degrees Gemini and Borasisi at 26 degrees Pisces. Now, I know these bodies will be somewhat new to some of you, so I'm going to go through a little bit of an introduction and then explain what they are. So, this alignment, chaos, in the sign of Gemini, literally it can mean anything. It's the energy of chaos. Now, chaos doesn't necessarily mean something horrible. It is literally the gaping void. Anything can come through it. So it creates this really powerful energy of uncertainty. And that's something that all of us are feeling at the collective level. Just to respond to a friend who's commented, I am not up early. I have been working late. um, so the energy of chaos is at 26 degrees Gemini and it's squaring Borasisi at 26 degrees Pisces. Borasisi, that's Borasisi, is literally a fictitious sun that was created by an individual called Kurt Vonnegut in a book called The Cat's Cradle. And wherever Borasisi shows up is literally where we see a lot of the teachings of the false light. And you know this is something I reference a lot, but I don't talk about the astrology behind it. Simply because astrology is not just a dead subject, it's not just an academic subject. The moment you are aware of certain energies, you will be more open to them and they will be more open to you. Which is why I waited for like 5 years before I ever told you anything about Therius. I realized the collective needed to know which parts of it had ears to hear. And so that has helped people understand themselves better. Now, Borasisi at 26 degrees Pisces is literally the way that false light vibration is making itself known into the collective. Now, it is reaching us through psychic channels, it's reaching us through the channels of intuition, of the past life work that we do, and influences we receive from interdimensional states and places. With Chaos at 26 Gemini and squaring Borasisi at 26 degrees Pisces, we see a lot of uncertainty, unpredictability at the psychic level. And this is where a lot of people are going to be feeling like they're feeling this, they're seeing this, something is telling them to do that. And I've got to say, please, please, please think about it 1,000 times before you jump. Now, we're actually going to see a very powerful activation of both energies round about June the 17th. Coming up, it's already very strong, but it's going to come up even more as we see the sun activating the, Gemini, and we see the sun, Chaos, Borasisi, basically creating what's known as a mutable T-square with the galactic center, 27 degrees Sagittarius. And that's going to be a time, this entire week is going to be an opportunity for all of us to really look at our guides, the path that we follow, what we think we're doing with the universe, and to really look at the details of that contract to make sure that we are doing what we actually came to do. Contrary to a lot of popular opinion, soul contracts are not set in stone. They are things that can be changed, sometimes through our will, sometimes through intercession by a higher force or a higher power, and sometimes through, shall we say, not particularly friendly energies that want to own that contract. And this is a time where there's a lot of focus on renegotiating the soul contract in ways that are not prone to deception, that are not being used or abused by other beings that are able to speak the spiritual lingo. Sometimes it's not disincarnates, sometimes it's literally spiritualists and psychics, or anyone who is trying to occupy a space in your energy field, trying to make a claim on you. And that's where you've got to be super careful over the next few days. That's not the only thing happening in the skies. We actually see 3 yods. A yod is known as a finger of fate. And effectively, it's made out of 2 inconjuncts connected by a sextile at the base, and it looks like a finger pointing in your chart. And wherever the yod is pointing, you will be pushed to a position of a karmic crossroads where you absolutely have to choose what are you going to do. And what you choose will either entrench you further down that road of karma, or it will help you release yourself from it. And the star of all 3 yods is a body called Ceto. Ceto is effectively the great serpent. It is the energy that every seafaring or maritime civilization has feared. It is the energy that gets reproduced in temples all over the world in the form of the serpent across so many ancient and indigenous cultures. It is that very profound archetype that we see represented by the snake and by the dragon. This energy is on fire this week. People who have strong, whether it's an ancestral lineage, or whether it is genetic, basically epigenetic memory, whether it is a soul imprint, a karmic imprint associated with the serpent or dragon, are really going to be feeling it this week. Because we see not 1, not 2, but 3 yods of fingers of fate. So Ceto does this in alignment with the sun in Gemini, and the third point of the yod being Jupiter. One of them is Jupiter in Capricorn, the other one is Pluto also in Capricorn, and the third is Eris. We're actually going to be seeing a lot of activation coming through our DNA at a spiritual and energetic level, as it is asking us to rise up and speak to what is happening in the world around us. This is a time where structures that are not inclusive are falling down. And where you stand is pivotal in how you are transforming karma, not only for yourself, but for the entire ancestral line that you have originated from. So stand up, but in ways that honor your experience. What I would also say about Ceto's energy is that it can also bring up a lot of fear in people, fear of the unknown. If you're not into the literal understanding of what it's about, you can also look at Ceto as an allegory of the guardian of the subconscious. This is also a space where you kind of have to pass the guardian to get into the hidden caves of your own mind. And what you might find in your own mind is, skeletons from the ancestral closet. This is where a lot of old secrets are also going to be coming up into your understanding of your ancestry, and also into the collective's understanding of what exactly the world has been built on, and on whose bones and on whose skeleton. So as you can see, powerful alignments over the course of the next few days. Now, just because the universe decided we needed more to do, focused around June the 14th and June the 15th, we see another yod or another finger of fate involving Mercury in Cancer, Eros in Taurus, and the great attractor in the skies in Sagittarius. And the great attractor is way more powerful than the galactic center. It pushes and pulls you towards different parts of truth, different teachings, and different ways of seeing reality. With Mercury and Eros and the great attractor as part of the yod, what happens here is that we are literally being asked to discern through our emotional bodies to find the path of truth that we need to walk towards. Now, feeling something doesn't mean that everything you feel is right, doesn't mean that everything you hear is right, doesn't mean that everything you think is right. It is a reaction to something. And knowing what is the truth of your reaction comes from digging deep and doing the work internally. It is not about taking that emotion at a surface deep level. With Eros, what we see is that impulse to basically rush into things because we feel something, so it has to be done. It's this immediate, visceral, physical, tangible emotion that says, I have to connect with this now, without thinking about the long-term outcomes. So you've got to look at things that are trying to egg you on into certain ways of thinking, certain ways of being, certain ways of responding. And I'm not saying people shouldn't do anything at all. I am saying if you're going to do something in the world right now, you need to think about what exactly is motivating you to do that, and whether or not those actions are going to benefit you and those whom you're trying to help in the long run. There's just a lot of agitational energy that's coming in through this yod. And yes, this absolutely applies to romantic relationships and sexual partnerships. You need to look at what you are getting into. Your impulses are not always going to lead you to where you need to be at a spiritual level from a spiritual perspective. The difference is one time, or rather one route takes you, to the top of the mountain in a very deep, very intense kind of way. You might break a couple of limbs. And the other route is maybe it takes a bit longer, but it's going to be gentler overall. So there's no right or wrong here in terms of what you choose on from a spiritual perspective, but it is about deciding whether or not you want to go through the same experiences again and again and again or not. Just remember, knee-jerk reactions, highly emotional reactions are not good basis for guiding your life and the way that you need to lead it. Well, leave it is another way of looking at it. Now, and this is not done, we also see, especially around June the 14th, June the 15th, another major activation happening. We see the Pluto Eris square. That's going to be June the 14th. So this is the energy that, it's an extremely explosive energy. Pluto and Eris have been squaring each other from 2019. They're going to be squaring each other into 2021. This is the energy of revolution. It's the energy of change. It's the energy that demands that those who have been excluded be brought back into the picture. Because if Eris is not heard, she will burn the whole system down. And rather than letting her go into overkill, it is wise to acknowledge what she wants and to include individuals who have been excluded appropriately. So this is a huge alignment happening in this, in the next couple of days. The Pluto Eris square is by itself enough to trigger all of this other stuff up. Not to mention the fact that they're already involved with the odds with Ceto, bringing up all of that ancestral and indigenous memory. It's a very, very volatile combination. So again, do not jump into things, take the time to feel it through, and know that there's going to be a lot of forces, sometimes aligned with something that's actually good, and sometimes pretending to be aligned with something that's actually good, that's going to be trying to agitate you one way or another. So be very aware and very mindful of that. There are lots of things playing to your emotions at this time. June the 16th, we actually see Venus in retrograde at 6 degrees Gemini, trine Juno at 6 degrees Libra. Again, whilst there's going to be that push to connect, that push to commit, think about it. This is precisely why I said don't plan your projects for now. Remember that Venus is still in retrograde, and Juno is basically trying to get you into connections that can activate your soul, which is not necessarily a positive thing or a pleasant thing. These are opportunities for you to walk into soul contracts, whether they're good, whether they're bad. That depends on the way you see it. Sometimes it's all karma in shiny new bottles. So be very clear as to who and what you allow into your space over the next few days. Last but not least, second last but not least, we see Psyche and Eros both trining Hylonome in Capricorn. Psyche and Eros are in Taurus, Hylonome is in Capricorn, and they're both trining this particular body between June the 13th to June the 17th. Hylonome is whom I call the poster girl of codependency, because she basically jumps on the spear that kills her husband, and she dies because she feels that she can't live by herself. This is another time where, again, people are going to be egged on by their insecurities, their fears of being alone, whatever worries they have surrounding partnerships and relationships. It's just not a good time to enter into any of these things, especially if you're driven by that sense of fear, that it's never going to happen, that it's never going to come, whatever. All of these are going to be the catalysts for making decisions you might regret in the long term. And now, last but not least, we see that with this extraordinary spread out over the next few days, we finally see Mercury stationing retrograde on June the 18th at 14 degrees Cancer. I want you to remember this degree, because when Mercury comes around 14 degrees Cancer again, it's going to reactivate some of these decisions. But with the Mercury retrograde, I am hoping that people will slow down. It's not to say that anyone doing anything right now is wrong or that they're doing the wrong thing. It is to say slow down, breathe, and act from a place that comes in alignment with your spirit. Not something that's feeding your fears, not something that's feeding your agitation. act from a place that comes from your inner alignment with spirit, and everybody's answer to that is going to be different. If we were all the same, we wouldn't be doing this. So now I'm going to look at the questions. I know that's it's very, very condensed information. Tier 23 has probably opened their emails and gone, "Ooh, did I sign up for this?" Because there's a whole lot of information given there. But this is the core of it, which I wanted all of you to also receive because it's just such a pivotal time. Now I'm going to look at comments and questions. If I can open this up on this phone. New phone seems to be working well. Let's just do some quick shout outs. Hello, Anthony. Hello, Whitney. Hello, James. Hello, Norris. Hello, Sunchild. Hello, Keziah. Hello, Alicia. Hello, Steve. Hello, Brass. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Jolene. Hello, and Black. Hi, family. Hello, Felicia. Hello, Whitney. Hello, Alicia again. Hello, Jersey. Hello, Emma. Hello, Geneva. Hello, Ra. Hello, Anna. Hello, Janet. Hello, Whitney. Hello, Ra Lexi. Hello, Tony. Hi, Sean. Now, we do have a question from Geneva. Is it a good time to explore what may be possible for future decisions? Honestly, I would say the most certain thing you could say right now to anything is to say, I don't know, I'll get back to you later. Just because the level of disinformation right now is going to be pretty intense. Even by people who may think they're doing exactly the right thing. You just need to be able to take a step back and just say, you know what, I don't know the whole situation. I don't know the whole scenario. And that's actually what I would say the safest thing is to do right now. You may want to just wait for this next eclipse to pass before you think about looking at that again. And that's, of course, going to be around about the solstice. Now, Jersey wants to know Cancer, Sun, Virgo, Moon, Gemini rising. Okay, I wanted to make a point about this, and I'm not singling you out, but it does take a lot of time and energy to go and give individual pieces of advice. Just because each combination of the Sun, Moon, Ascendant is so different. I would encourage you to get a session with me, maybe at a later point, because this month I have put very, very, very few slots in knowing the energy of this month. But generally speaking, what I would say is you really need to be careful with what you're taking in through your emotional body and your mental body. Not everything is what it looks like. And in fact, a lot of things that we think we know may be completely no longer in alignment. Another point that I wanted to also raise is the question of the kinds of older energies that may be coming up this time. And Janet Dawson has just asked the question. Janet Dawson asks, okay, I'm having flashbacks of the past, remembering everything, but from a different perspective. Is it normal for now? And that ties into what I'm saying. So thank you for the question, Janet. So this is the kind of energy where you're going to be looking at ancient energies, ancient remembrances, and you're going to need to transmute it. Just because we use the word ancient, karmic, indigenous, whatever, it doesn't mean that it's absolutely 100% going to be perfectly fine. Ancient cultures knew that energy evolves over time. And so when we try to fixate them and lock them into a particular time and place, we're also locking their energies. So what we want to do is we want to look back at the past and allow it to be transmuted at a higher level of consciousness. And simply allowing that to happen can change your perspective. So that's perfectly normal, and it's probably sounds to me like you're doing that already. Keziah asks, who is my dear friend and wonderful clairvoyant medium, Keziah asks, how does this affect us on a global level? On a global level, what I do feel is that there's going to be a lot of polarization. As we have been seeing, it's a trend. It's the kind of energy which asks us to see, the thing that's going to polarize us is not so much the values of truth that each of us have. It's going to be about what source of information that you listen to, and what source of information and inner discernment do you actually use. So we're actually going to be seeing, I would say, a segregation in terms of, is someone just following their head? Is someone following their heart? Is someone allowing their soul to guide them? Is someone just reading things and blindly going in one direction or another? And in that sense, we're going to be seeing, I would say, a great shifting and also a great separation of energies. And you know which side I would sit on. For me, it is Listen ultimately to the voice of your spirit. Your emotions can play a role in it, your body can play a role in it, but working from a place of spirit is, for me at the very least, the way to go. And everyone will have a different approach on that. Now, the Pluto Eris squares is going to probably intensify the level of conflict we're seeing around the protests all around the world. It is all, and that is not a bad thing, as long as it does not go over the limits and as long as innocents do not get harmed even more than they have been. And this is a time where everyone needs to be rethinking their relationship to the superstructure. What is it that we do? What is it that we are when we buy into structures and institutions and understandings of power, and even our identity and relationship with the state and banks and big business and societal norms that have kept certain people in power and certain people out of it? So it's going to be a massive explosion in consciousness. And this is why all of us need to be prepared for the fallout and the disinformation that will try to separate us further. And I hope that answers your question, my friend. Okay, so Sarah says, okay, how does this time affect the Libra and Scorpio relationship? Okay, now that's a very general question. It really depends on the Libra and Scorpio in particular. But I can say that this is a time where, again, everyone needs to be very understanding of the fact that whilst we may mean well, there's a lot of disinformation in the way we see ourselves and the way we think other people are seeing us. So, in terms of personal relationships, you've got to understand that there's also a lot of projection going on, especially with Libra and Scorpio. I can certainly understand that. But at the same, so give yourselves a bit of space, is what I would say, and try not to take anything too literally and too seriously, unless it is something that again comes back to the question of how you deal with the Capricornian superstructure. I hope that helps. Activity 3 asks, how do you transmute old energies? All right, now this is going to sound a bit elitist, and frankly, it needs to be. This kind of work, working with old technologies, old civilizations, old cultures, is not work that everybody does, because frankly, it's very dangerous. So unless you are already called to that work, don't worry about it. Because if it is your work to do, your guides, your path will reveal how that needs to be done. And if it's not, you save yourself a world of trouble by not trying to go into it. So if it is yours, it will come to you. That's simple. Okay, I would say that's wraps up the questions that we have here. Again, this is a very, very important next couple of days. And remember, we are building up to Mercury retrograde. And not only that, we are building up to the upcoming solar eclipse on the solstice point. So this is an energy that is and will be transforming our relationship with reality, with the planet. It is the kind of energy that asks us to completely rethink what is our understanding of home, legacy, community, family, lineage, emotion, groundedness, rootedness, everything. So we are in a massive build-up to all of these energies. So there is just a lot coming up. Remember that sometimes the best thing you can say is, I don't know, I need time to think about this, and sit and feel through it and see what comes up. Do not rush yourselves. Do not push yourselves. Just be that which you already are and that your soul already is. That's about it. Take care and very many blessings. Ciao, ciao for now. Bye-bye.